We've all built a to-do app at some point to learn the basics. But let's be honest, it's too basic to impress anyone, right? What if I told you that the way you build it can make all the difference? In this video, I will tell you about 5 super important techniques you can apply to any project to make it 10 times better. Number 1. Architecture. Why architecture? Well, let me ask you this. Usually in your projects, can you switch databases without changing your core application logic? Can you expose both REST APIs and command line interface for your app without rewriting it? That's exactly what the right architecture enables you to do. It will help you organize your code to make it easy to change and scale up. I love to explain the hexagonal architecture as an example. Every application can be divided into 3 main parts. API layer, this is where all the driving adapters reside. For instance, REST controllers is an example of a driving adapter. Core layer, this is where the main business logic resides. In a to-do app, for example, adding, editing, and deleting tasks. Infra layer, this is where all the driven adapters reside. For example, all the database-specific services such as JPA repos or Mongo repos reside here. Number 2. Applying solid principles. Solid is a group of 5 design principles that help you build readable, maintainable, and scalable design. I will not go over them one by one here, but I will tell you why they are super important and why you should learn and apply them. Reason number 1. They are the foundation for most of design patterns. Understanding them helps you understand design patterns better. Reason number 2. They are the foundation of architectures. If you don't understand dependency inversion principle, for example, you won't understand how hexagonal architecture achieves isolation between core logic and details. Reason number 3. They are like an advanced reader's vocabulary, but for developers. They help you communicate recommendations for improvement much easier with your team. Final reason and most important one, they help you scale your projects while preserving maintainability, testability, and readability. Building a house may be done in a messy way, but you will never see a skyscraper built in a messy way. Number 3. Testing. Why testing? How can you ever know that your code still works if you don't have tests to verify that? The bigger and bigger a project becomes and the more developers start working on it, the harder it is to verify that every part of your code still works as expected. As we all know, the only constant in software is change. So when change comes, tests are your only guardian from bugs. Testing has multiple layers to it, starting from unit tests, which are tests specific to the smallest units of your software, such as classes or methods. Then you have integration tests, which are tests that verify interactions with external environments, such as database interactions tests and REST controllers tests, etc. Finally, we have end-to-end tests. End-to-end tests verify the complete flow of an application, ensuring all components work together as expected from start to finish. These tests simulate real user scenarios and interactions to validate the application behaves as intended. Number 4. Applying design patterns. It has been 30 years since the Gang of 4 book on design patterns was published, and the principles it introduced continue to be as relevant as ever. Despite the evolution of programming languages, the rise of new frameworks, and the explosion of technologies, design patterns are still standing. Why is that? Because design patterns address fundamental problems in software design. They capture timeless principles like separation of concerns, flexibility, reusability, and maintainability, which are the backbone of clean and efficient code. They offer a shared vocabulary that helps developers communicate complex ideas clearly and consistently across teams and projects. That's why applying design patterns in your project will make it much better. Number 5. Libraries and Dockerization. This one is a personal recommendation that adds a fine touch to your project. I have 3 recommendations here. The first one is using helpful libraries that you can live without but will make your code neater. These include Lombok for reducing boilerplate code and Instance.io for random data generation and tests. If you're not familiar with these 2, look them up. They are easy to use but very beneficial. The second one is using Swagger for API documentation. Swagger will help you document your APIs in a professional manner and will generate automatically for you a page where you can view and trigger all the APIs. The last one is Dockerization. Even if you're not going to deploy your application, creating a Docker Compose file and putting all the services you're using in it makes your project much more professional and easy to run on any machine. I promise you, if you apply all of the above, even on a to-do app as a demonstration, you will create an impressive project that you'll be proud to share.